Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
And a big warm welcome to everyone and a huge thank you for joining us for the Australian Book Lovers podcast. Our mission is to bring fabulous Australian and Indigenous literature that spans a whole range of genres to book lovers around the globe, as well as fantastic resources and information for passionate authors looking to write their next bestseller. I'm Laurie Bell, science fiction and fantasy author, blogger, short story writer, flash fiction writer, and your co-host for today, coming to you from Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung country.
Hooray! Because here we are on the other side of Woi-wurrung country. I am Veronica Strachan, aka V.E. Patton, fantasy, science fiction, memoir, picture book writer, reader of all sorts of genres. There's a beautiful tabby cat passing Laurie's face.
Always the way, first thing.
Coming to you in episode 114.
Oh, can you believe this is my 10th episode now?
Woohoo! 10th episode.
I got to 10.
This is great. And what an episode to come with. We
Absolutely.
chat with the absolutely wonderful Dr Monika Schott about not only about my dad built the wackiest cubby ever, my dad built me the best and wackiest cubby ever, but also about the faraway land of the House of Two Cows. So Monika was absolutely fascinating to chat with.
I love the titles of her books. I think she needs to keep going with the long titles because they are brilliant.
She has got another long title one coming through, so we talk about it in the interview. And she's
I just need to share something just for 2 seconds.
Yes, so video
so
people.
They're fighting over the same spot. And
two big fat cats trying to sit in one small cat house.
she wants the same spot because it's right under the heater. So you're going to cause trouble, aren't you? Come on you. Oh, come on you, out the way. There we go. Good Mal. Sorry about that.
No, that's absolutely all right. We have a saying in our house, look out, she's doing an Ashy. So Ashy, one of our cats, goes out and in the rain, she doesn't really mind, and she'll come back in and come and sort of right up to you or try and sit on your knee or rub against your leg and you go down to pat her. And of course she's soaking wet, which is like,
of course.
Thanks.
Of course. Aren't they wonderful?
Gorgeous.
And
Indeed.
Speaking of, we should do our episodic weather update. So Melbourne is still cold. It is still wet. It is bucketing out.
Yeah, bitter, cloudy, rainy, while we are still in Warring, which is, wombat season. We've got the end of this month and a little bit more as part of the Wurundjeri season. So, yes.
Well, it definitely is just yuck.
Bitterly cold, I think, is the way to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So at least we're both rugged up. We're inside. We've got crazy animals everywhere.
But merch on. We've got our beautiful merch on. So if anybody needs something warm, you need a wind cheater, you need a
polo, a skivvy,
T-shirt, scarf,
a
lot. You can get them all on Redbubble with a beautiful Australian book lovers.
Even coffee mugs for the Melbourne people in the audience there.
Or tea mug, look, in all shapes and sizes.
Yep.
So just jump on Redbubble and type in Aussie Books and you'll see all the beautiful mascots that you can get. And you can choose them in author or reader varieties or just the plain icon, whatever you like. And
exactly. Now, did we get your intro? Because I think I cut into your intro there. Did we get your intro? Okay.
I think so.
That's all right.
Did, but people know I'm here. I forgot to say, co-founder and co-host, but I think people realise that we are here.
Just us waffling on again.
Just us waffling on again.
Each week, it's fine.
About words and things. And I just mentioned that I want to tell you a couple of John Koenig words. As we know, I love the Dictionary of Obscure
Love
Science.
these words.
And this is kind of, a beautiful segue. Ludiosis, Ludiosis. It's a noun, and it's the sense that you're just making it up as you go along.
Well, I've discovered my word for forever.
Ludiosis, knowing that if
Ludiosis.
someone asks you why you do most things, you couldn't really come up with a convincing explanation.
Oh my God, that is a word. I need to put that all over my blog, I think.
Ludiosis in ancient Rome, ludiosi, the Oscan Games, gave rise to the art of improvisation theatre.
Oh my
Pronounced
God.
ludiosis. So you and your theatre would be
So
loving that.
how do I spell that one again?
ludiosis, ludiosis.
I love that word.
Yeah.
You've made my day with that one.
This is something that I suffer from, hailbound, and I think it's because I come from the country. So hailbound is an adjective mysteriously compelled to wave to passing strangers on a country road, a mountain path, or a remote stretch of water. I can't help myself. I have to wave. G'day. If you're going across, long highways, and particularly if they had the same car as you. And
there's
I
something
know
about the same car.
there is. When I was growing up, we had a combi van, being a large family, that was the only one that could accommodate us. And combi drive, even my dad, who was a not overly effusive in his friendliness, he would do the two fingers on the steering wheel, and we'd wave like crazy at all the the kids in the other one. So yes, there you go. Hailbound, mysteriously compelled to wave to passing strangers on a country road, a mountain path, or a remote stretch of water.
Wow,
I'm not going to say,
there you go.
Yeah, so ludiosis and hailbound, I think those are two
we like
good
connections. We like to make connections in any way we can, don't we?
Yes. And look, I'm going to give you one more because I think that we can put ABL in there. And I had to check out how it's pronounced. It's A-shoe. Bless you. Yeah, thank you. So this is EISCE, which is a noun, the awareness of the infinitesimal role you play in shaping your own society, knowing that whenever you smile at a stranger, pronounce a word a certain way, laugh at a certain joke, or choose the slightly shinier apple, you are unwittingly helped to construct the world in which you live, a role both vanishingly small but also somehow daunting, making it that much harder to complain about the traffic, knowing that you are the traffic.
Wow, that's
really good. It's from the Irish, and excuse my Gaelic, which means exception, and it's pronounced I-shoe. Yeah, I-shoe. Yeah,
I like that one. That's nice.
So there you go. John Koenig's Dictionary.
So we create our own reality. Well, I've always believed that as a science fiction and fantasy writer. We do create our own reality.
We do, even if we are ludiosis, making it up as we go along. Yes, and I remember when I'd been working in the country for a while, and then I started working in the city. I couldn't believe that people would look at me weirdly as I just smiled at everybody in the street. Particularly
we avoid eye contact in the city. It's like you do the power walk, and the eyes just swing slightly to the side as you walk. It's like, don't look at me. That is a very city thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, and particularly as when you travel on the country trains, you generally know most people to nod at anyway, if not have a conversation with about
because I'm in the city every day through work. You don't want people to recognize you, and you don't want anyone to, because if they're smiling at you as they're walking towards you, you're like, oh God, what have I done? Have I spilt something? Am I like, is there toilet paper? What why are you looking at me?
It's a funny world. It is a funny world, and we are here also to think about some news.
Yes. Well, I just had the two things to remind everyone about today, because the dates are creeping up on us very quickly. So don't forget the Raw RWA Readers Are Writers workshop that we've got coming up on the 1st of August. So that's not very far away. Make sure you do RSVP onto the for the online writing workshop. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be so much fun. So please do join us. And then also, only a couple of days later, there is the Marvelous Sydney Authors Inked, which will be guest starring the amazing Veronica Strachan. And that one also you do need to RSVP for, but that one, Sydney Authors Inked with Conversation with Veronica, is going to be absolutely fantastic.
I am really looking forward to it, even though there will be a little bit of ludiosis happening. Just making it up as I go along. And I've just seen that their September guest is up, and that's Ashley Caladian Blunt, who is a fabulous crime author. She wrote Dark Mode, which is yes, spine chilling. Yes, murders in Sydney. So very good. So please support, particularly if you're local. Go to your free local stuff. Where you can.
There's so many.
A lot of stuff costs you, but there's good stuff.
And writers love talking about themselves and their books. No one else will do it for us, so we have to get out there and do it. So. Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you about a few news bits and pieces that I've got. As we said last week, Olivia Lanchester stepping down from the ASA. But the 6 million, I think it is, that Booktopia are in debt. 60 million in debt.
60 million.
So please don't order any books until things are sorted out, because they're not actually selling books at the moment. The website's still there, but it's
really hard for all the pre-orders. I know everyone wants to support authors, and we all want those support as well, but maybe hold off on any pre-orders through Booktopia.
Just for a couple of weeks till we see how we're going. Yeah, absolutely. Now, in award news, winners of the ACT Literary Awards have been announced. Yes. Jeffrey Buchanan won the 2024 Michael Gifkins Prize for the manuscript The Birds Began to Sing. Dan Hogan won the 2024 Mary Gilmore Award for Secret Third Thing from Cordite Books. And Anne-Marie Priest won the 2024 Margery Medal for My Tongue Is My Own, A Life of Gwen Harwood from La Trobe University Press. And the Australian Jewish Book Awards has added a new unpublished manuscript prize. So that's some good news in Book Awards. Yes. Interestingly, and I'm just reading from Books and Publishing, which is a great group to be a part of. Yes, they have some good news and on acquisitions and bits and pieces. And they mentioned that the UK book market is down so far this year compared to last year, in the absence of Prince Harry's Spare, which I didn't read and I was not interested in particularly. While the Independent Alliance Sales Collective has for the first time placed above one of the big 4 publishers for sales this year to date, and that's fantastic. And in the US, audiobook publisher RB Media has agreed to acquire independent audiobook publisher Dreamscape Media, which is good. And of course, in Australia, they mentioned that Red Kite is up for sale. Red Kite is a WA independent publisher. So please, somebody buy some of these little indie publishers and help them along, because we need variety in the market. We need people that specialise in particular groups, like Dead Set Press does speculative fiction, Spinifex Press does women's feminist fiction, and lots of good little groups doing as like us, doing as much as we can to celebrate Australian and Indigenous authors, that's what we're about.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I've got some competitions from, I thought, we do get a bit Melbourne centric, so apologies to everywhere else in Australia. And I thought that I would just check up on the various writer centres. And of course, now I'm going to stop at Queensland because they've got their fabulous competitions. And I've talked about these before. Queensland has, now my computer's doing strange things. Sorry, everybody, as I just get myself sorted. So back one, no, forward one. Very hard to make this entertaining when you're messing up things. Anyway, not ludiosal. I don't know, how would you do it?
Well, we are writers, we're not tech giants,
Exactly. All right. So the Queensland Writers Centre, you can have a look on their website, which is actually queenslandwriters.org.au/competitions. Now, their competition, which is called Stageable, the inaugural 2024 applications open Monday the 1st of July to Wednesday the 14th of August. And Stageable is Queensland Writers Centre's newest addition to their suite of ABLES program, .able, focusing on the development of emerging playwrights and theatre writing. And as we mentioned several times over the last few episodes, lots of people have a bit of a stage writing background. So this is open nationally. So even though Queensland are hosting it, it's open nationally. The program accepts submissions of all forms of unpublished and unproduced plays and writing intended for the stage. Successful shortlisted applicants receive consultation with the Queensland Writers Centre staff, 5 hours of one-on-one mentorship with a matched industry professional with the aim of sparking ongoing creative professional connections. So it's really good. The open category is all emerging writers without professional theatre production, and then a youth category age 16 to 25. So there you go. So have a look on their website, and there's more information as well. And look, all applicants receive a complimentary development workshop to be delivered online. I mean, it's fantastic. So good on your Queensland Writers Centre.
That's great.
Another one, which is one of their annuals, which is one that I did know about, is called Scriptable. So this is where, and this is open also Monday the 1st of July to Wednesday the 14th of August. This is an opportunity for young and emerging screenwriters to develop their scripts and careers. So unproduced script across a range of genres and formats, including feature screenplays, television and web series, short films and short film collections. And yes, they have got an open and a youth category as well. So program guidelines and submission forms on the website. And yeah, take care. So Queensland also not open at the moment, but they also have publishable and adaptable, which is, adaptable is books to screen, and publishable is helping you get to an annual manuscript development program. So yeah, good on you, Queensland Writers Centre.
Yeah.
So that is a very helpful one. And just thought that I would say, don't forget, in Northern Territory, they've got Tim Winton heading up there. It's not till October, so if you want to jump in, go into the Northern Territory or ntwriters.com.au. And interestingly, of course, they have a whole lot of stuff in Darwin and a whole lot of stuff in Mapuntwe down in Alice Springs, because it's a little bit of a drive between the two. But yeah, they've got a great program. Season 2 of the Northern Territory Writers Centres. The last Sunday of each month, they have an open mic night, which is Wild Words. A live performance forum for poets and spoken word artists based in Darwin in Larrakia country. So I reckon that sounds fantastic.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Picture workshop with them. Yeah. Anyway, so jump on their websites, have a bit of a look, and every state has a
Writer Centre. And
yes. And people who are watching the video would realise that I was looking to the right, because actually in that crazy redo of the screens, Zoom shot open to the side. I was looking at Laurie. Anyway, so now Laurie's back.
Yes.
Fun. Yes. All right. Enough.
Yes.
News.
Sorry about that, everyone. Oh dear. Wow. No, that's fantastic. There's always so much going on, but there are some great writer centres and writers resources just around Australia that is free most of the time, a lot of the time, many times. A lot of the events are all free as well, which is just absolutely marvellous.
Discounts if you're from the country, or if you're of a certain age, or if you're on concession cards and those kind of things. So use everything.
Tim Winton was one of the first writers I think I actually heard speak as an author through school. So Tim Winton and James Marsden.
Ah, right, yeah.
Yeah. So
he does up that way.
Yeah, yep. So very, that's what got me into listening to authors at a young age, is through school. Schools are the best for that sort of thing.
And now you're interviewing them and listening to them and having conversations with them.
Even better. Even better, I get to talk to them.
All right, let's talk about some more authors.
Yes.
I am going to mention,
Spotlights.
I have so many books to give away. I have to do a newsletter this weekend. I've got like 3 newsletters full of giveaways to go. But the next giveaway is going to be Oblivion by Patrick Holland, which we've spotlighted before.
Yes.
The Rust Red Land by Robin Bishop, again, we've spotlighted. And Corpus in Extremis, a memoir. So they will be in the next newsletter. If you want to get a chance to win one of those for free, jump on to australianbooklovers.com/booklovers and enter your name and email, and I'll be sending that out hopefully this weekend. We'll see how we go. Yes, no promises.
Yes. Well, no promises with anything at the moment, because who knows? We've been just for the date, we've been having all sorts of internet issues with the amazing downtime that hit us all yesterday that is across the world. So
Yes, very tricky.
yes.
Fingers crossed it's all sorted, and we get back to it. In the meantime, we have book spotlights.
We do book spotlights.
So many books to share. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and it might seem like we've only got 3, but in fact we haven't. We've got more, because I've got 3 by the fabulous Regency romance author D.G. Rampton. So it's Artemisia, Aurora and Aphrodite. So, and they are in fact the fabulous features of the week at the moment. So you'll see them on the website, Regency Romance. Artemisia, you forget yourself, your lordship. You have no rights to allow or disallow anything I may choose to do. You have, in fact, no claim over me whatsoever, a circumstance for which I thank the Lord on a daily basis. I am neither your ward nor your dependent, and I will not allow you to talk to me in that odiously overbearing fashion.
I want to use that quote on my boss one day, because that is fantastic.
You forget yourself, your lordship.
You forget yourself. I will not let you talk to me in that odious, overbearing fashion. I love that.
That's very good.
Yep.
So high-spirited Artemisia Grantley, niece of the Duke of Wentworth, has never made any attempt to conform to the feminine ideal expected of a lady of quality, nor has she ever had the benefit of an unfavourable opinion formed against her. But when the Marquess of Chisholm enters her life, it seems to her that his lordship is always at hand to witness her shortcomings and bring them to her attention. Very ungentlemanly of him, really. As she reluctantly embarks upon her first London season, a scandalous family secret and a conspiracy that stretches all the way to Napoleonic France threaten to entangle her with the one person she could happily throttle. There you go. So book 2 in this series is Aurora. I think the women of your acquaintance have done you a great disservice by allowing you to continue in your deceit. Perhaps next time you meet a lady, you will not be so quick to think she's only interested in fortune and matrimony. So obviously not Mrs. Bennet.
No.
So Miss Aurora Wesley is a lady who never allows a seemingly insurmountable problem to overwhelm her. Blessed with irrepressible optimism and ingenuity, she knows how to set about achieving her goals without the burden of excessive scruples. Whether it is establishing a brother to his rightful place in society, rescuing a young heiress from the clutches of her guardian, or matchmaking for a reticent spinster, Aurora has her hands full sorting out other people's lives with little thought of for her own. Until, after one extraordinary encounter, she discovers an overmastering desire to amuse herself by provoking the formidable Duke of Rothworth and turning his well-ordered, respectable existence on its head. So what readers are saying about Aurora, rollicking Regency romp, such a verbally exquisite fun. Loved it from beginning to end. I'm sure Jane and Georgette would approve. So Jane Austen, Georgette Heyer, as we know. This book has to be one of my all-time favourites. I found my new queen of the Regency romance novel. A galloping and enjoyable read with strong and amusing characters abounding. After you finish with Georgette Heyer, do not despair. D.G. Rampton is there to offer consolation. Sounds good. And one more. So the third in the series. I fail to see why you expect me to put up with your aspic charm. Others of your acquaintance might be inclined to do so, but I, strange creature that I am, will not. When the beautiful Miss April Hartwood arrives in London to be introduced to Regency high society, she hopes for some fun and frivolity after a life spent in rural obscurity in Cornwall. Unfortunately for her, her grandmother has other ideas. Marriage. Lively and strong-willed, April does not appreciate being the lively and strong-willed, April does not appreciate being compelled to catch a husband. Yet before long, she finds herself courting the affections of the Duke of Clarendon, while struggling with a wholly inappropriate attraction to the insufferable Mr. Royce. In the lead up to Christmas in the year 1820, a delightfully devious campaign is orchestrated to bring together two people destined for one another, regardless of the obstacles to overcome and the inconvenient tendency on the part of the protagonists to resist their attraction, until they are finally brought to realise they cannot escape fate or the meddling of one determined grandmother. So, best Regency romance book I read in years, K.E. Timbreza. Aphrodite is an enthralling Regency romp full of endearing and meddlesome characters, a stubborn hero and heroine, and hilariously entertaining mix-up and tangles. Austen-esque reviews, truly witty, delightful characters. The author has mastered the art of satire with a heart. From Dragon Lady. Wow, there you go.
That's fantastic and very fitting for some of the shows that have been dropping of late with Bridgerton and I was telling you a bit before, My Lady Jane on Amazon Prime, which is hilarious. I've only just started it, so no spoilers, but I'm very much enjoying it, and I think readers of these books would love those, and I think people who love those shows would love these books.
Did you watch Bridgerton?
I did.
Did you like it?
I did. I'm not a big romance, but I am a very Regency kind of.
Right.
I do love a good Austen, and I do love a good period. So I enjoyed it. I'm really loving it.
Yeah, very good.
So,
well, these are definitely there.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about DG.
So, best-selling author D.G. Rampton loves to create feel-good romantic comedies featuring intelligent heroines, dashing men, and sparkling banter. So I love just that combination. Love that combination. An engineer by training, but a romantic by nature, she left behind her corporate career to follow the call of her artistic inclinations and write stories that bring joy and laughter into people's lives. She has a penchant for gastro dining, French comedy, and theoretical physics. Let me learn how to read. Theoretical physics. And when not immersed in the fictional worlds she creates, has been known to dabble in extreme property makeovers that send her family batty.
That's hilarious.
That's great, isn't it? After being honoured with an interview on ABC's radio's Nightlife show to delve into the ins and outs of being a romance author, she ended up having so much fun that radio jockey is now on her career wish list.
There you go. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love people who can put a witty profile together.
Oh,
it's really
absolutely.
Good. All right, book 2, which is by one of the ABL's very favourite authors.
Yes.
Once We Flew by Nikky Lee, which is, naturally enough, science fiction. And an Aurealis Award winner for Best Science Fiction Novella. So that is brilliant. And it has an absolutely gorgeous cover as well. So 4 generations ago, a generation ship crashed into the sands of Savine. Since then, its survivors have eked out an existence in the planet's hostile desert. Yet the tech is failing, the sands are encroaching, and people are dying. Rescue is still generations away, if it comes at all. But Marsa is a survivor and an outcast. Infected with the chrysalis, a disease that grants its carriers uncanny abilities, she keeps her distance from her dwindling community until an old friend's dying wish sends her and a young boy across Savine's inhospitable sands in search of something Marsa had thought she'd long forgotten: hope.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Mm.
So Nikky Lee is an award-winning author who grew up as a barefoot 90s kid in Perth, Western Australia, on Whadjuk Noongar country. She now lives in Rotorua in New Zealand with a husband, a dog, and a couch potato cat, which I have a few of those. In her free time, she writes speculative fiction, often burning the candle at both ends to explore fantastic worlds, mine asteroids, and meet wizards. She has over 24 stories, published in magazines, anthologies, and on the radio. Her short fiction has won 3 Aurora Awards, with her novelette Dingo and Sister winning Best Young Adult Short Story and Best Fantasy Novella in 2020. And her
such a good book.
I know.
I love
And
that.
her novella Once We Flew, winning Best Science Fiction Novella in 2023. In 2021, she received a Ditmar Award for Best New Talent. Her debut novel, The Raken's Familiar, which I loved, and the next one's coming, won the 2023 Sir Julius Vogel Award for Best Youth Novel, 3 Indie Ink Awards, and bronze in Young Adult Fiction at the Forward Indies Book of the Year Awards. So that is
Fantastic.
very
Yes.
cool.
It is very cool. So another great story from Nikky Lee. And here we have Weekend Friends by Bella Ellwood-Clayton, which is a contemporary story. I like this. For girls, the tween years are like the Hunger Games. For their mothers, it's worse. Oh. Food photographer Rebecca and her tween daughter Willow move from Alaska to Boca Raton, leaving behind their terrible secret about the death of Rebecca's husband. They're ready to start anew in the warmth of the Sunshine State, hoping it will help vanquish Willow's night terrors. As her daughter becomes controlled and bullied by the popular group, Rebecca is drawn closer to the charismatic head of school, Mr. Brady. A hot and steamy, though uncertain, relationship begins. Soon, lies, deception, and secrets cause everything to spiral out of control, and both mother and daughter find themselves on the wrong side of their gated community with devastating repercussions. Full of dark twists and turns, Weekend Friends makes you grateful you're no longer a tween or the parent of one.
So, love that. So Dr. Bella Ellwood-Clayton is an award-winning author. She has a BA from Concordia University in Montreal and a PhD from the University of Melbourne in sexual anthropology. And yes, that makes for an interesting dinner party conversation. I am now wanting those dinner conversations. How amazing is that? Yeah. Bella's non-fiction book, Sex Drive in Pursuit of Female Desire, was published by Allen and Unwin in 2012. Bella has published short stories, poetry, and written for publications such as Huffington Post and Daily Life. She frequently appears on TV and gives talks, including a TED Talk. Her work has been featured in a National Geographic documentary. Oh, wow. Married to a real-life superhero who lives in Melbourne and has 2 spirited eek teens and a mini Maltese who truly believes he's a pit bull. I'm wanting those stories. When she's not on her laptop, you can find her downward dogging, pleading with her offspring to go outside, randomly blurting out, "Oh, that's a good story idea," and consuming too many vegetarian dumplings.
Excellent.
That's a great bio.
Yes, that is a great bio, isn't it? And I think the bios are just a reminder that people are so much more than their books.
Yes.
And so much more than their writing, aren't they? Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
you're doing 1,000 things at once if
Yes.
you want to be a writer and if you want to survive as a writer, you do need to do 100 things at once. So the bios are wonderful for giving a bit of an insight into the creative driving these amazing words.
Indeed they are. All right. They are the book spotlights for today. And I think it's probably time for us to jump in to listen to the fabulous Monika Schott about her books. So
yes, I think that's great. Let's go.
Hello, book lovers. Absolutely delighted to say we have on this slightly chilly Monday morning the delightful Monika Schott, Australian author extraordinaire, children's books, non-fiction, some absolutely fascinating research that you're doing. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, Monika.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Veronica.
Very good. Now, Monika, I'm on Wurrung Wurundjeri country up here in northwestern Victoria, central goldfields, actually, I think we are. So where are you coming from today?
So I'm living and working on Bunurong land in Victoria, in Melbourne's west.
Beautiful. And what a fabulous place Melbourne is in winter. Let's be honest. We throw up the odd occasional beautiful day and people say, yes, but isn't it raining and cold? Well, it might be. We get to wear our scarves and our coats.
We do, and I quite like rugging up. So I like Melbourne's winter also.
Yeah.
Love the cold.
Yeah, we lived in WA for a couple of years, and I really missed not being able to do hats and scarves and coats because it was also mild over there. Lovely, but mild.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Now, you've got a fairly specific place name book to talk about, which is the land, faraway land of the House and Two Cows. And we're also going to talk about My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby Ever. So a few bits to talk about. Let me tell the listeners about you, if that's all right. I'm just going to read your bio. And let's pop over here. And I'm going to say that Dr Monika Schott is an Australian-based writer and researcher. Life's intricacies and curiosities inspire her to write and give voice to stories that haven't been heard. She's particularly interested in lost industrial communities and communities that have been isolated or segregated, and interpreting these stories of past communities before they're lost forever. She once practiced as a metal artist and painter, and as such writes like an artist creating texture on metal or canvas. She wrote the social history of Melbourne's first sewage farm community as part of her PhD research into sewage ghost towns and how these communities flourish in their abject margins. Her novel, The Faraway Land of the House and Two Cows, and song, A Land Far Away, were released in July 22. And having just refreshed my mind and listened to that again, it is a lovely song. Get that on YouTube, peeps. Her latest book, My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby Ever, is a timely and compassionate story about a child and father navigating the dad's mental health struggles, and it's inspired by Monika's own lived experience. The heartwarming chapter book is a gentle interpretation of what Monika observed within her own family and is ideal for children aged 5 to 12 years. So there we go. That is Monika Schott.
Thank you. That sounded really good.
I'm available for recording. So Monika started life as an artist. Tell us a little bit about that to begin.
Oh, well, I think I practiced as an artist for probably 10 years or more, and really making objects and jewellery and some public art, mainly in metal, but sometimes some alternative materials. And I also did a lot of community art, so using my art skills to help community talk about various things, interpret stories, and often it was a really good voice, a way for people to voice their concerns, their stories through art, because it was kind of a universal language. So I worked in that field for quite a while, worked for the Children's Hospital around mental health and working in schools with artists to explore mental health, healthy mind. So there were quite a lot of applications for what I was using my art for.
Art is such a brilliant channel for people to express themselves without words, or for things that they don't know how to articulate, even if they can get them into words.
Yeah.
For you, what's the connection yourself between how you feel or work or talk and express in your art?
Oh, wow. I think for me, whether, when I was practicing in the fine arts or whether I'm writing, it becomes a space where I can just get lost and the exploration takes over. The book I'm writing now, I went back to it, I think yesterday, and read something, and I thought to myself, how the hell did I get that, So I just get lost, and I love that part of it. And even, when I think back to when I was doing some community art projects, I worked with a group of refugee women who spoke little English, and we were setting up a women's group and exploring that through art, and, the way that they could convey messages through art, and sitting there, working with their fingers, again, just getting lost and producing these really gorgeous pieces of work.
It's brilliant. I love the way you describe that even now with your writing, you're creating texture. Tell me about that. How does that translate? Because I'm looking for that transition to writing.
Yeah, well, when I was practicing as an artist, and particularly with metal, I created these techniques where I could heat the metal to a certain temperature and create rivers. And so it would be molten and, you know, create these rivers. And then when it hardened and cooled down and hardened, they would, it would leave these streams in the metal. And so there was these lovely textures that were going on. And when I was painting, I was always layering paint in, you know, pure color, and again trying to get that movement and texture happening in the work. And then I found, and it was, you know, not something I intended to do, but it was just something that kind of happened. It must just be in me, where again I was layering with words, you know, expressing a passage or something, a scene. And then I'd find I would just use layers of words to talk about the scene. And then I realized, well, I'm doing the same thing as what I was doing when I was painting and working in metal, just, you know, creating more layers.
Yeah. The things that we learn never leave us.
That's right. Some things are just intrinsic, you know, within us.
Yeah, that's our strengths for sure. All right, lovely. Let's take you back to when you were a wee lass and talk about your favourite books as a child. Tell me about that. Loved your response that you shared with us.
Yeah, well, I think I was 9 or 10. I can't quite remember, and I don't think there's a date in the book. But anyway, I was 9 or 10, and my parents gave me this book about Christmases around the world and how the different cultures celebrate it. But, you know, it was a Reader's Digest book, so it wasn't the most glamorous book. But to me as a kid, you know, it came to me as a hardcover in this really rich and regal maroon, and I just thought it was the most wonderful thing, and I've still got it. And I will never get rid of it.
Does it have one of the ribbons to keep your place?
It does.
Oh, yes. I remember getting those as a kid. I was just so beautiful. It just felt like you'd had a treasure.
It was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's probably my earliest memory of, you know, the best book in the world. Yeah. And then after that, I think I was 13, and I remember reading, you know, some kind of a chapter book. And it was about Amy and this ghost. And I just thought it was the best thing in the world, you know, about this ghost and Amy. And that stuck with me. And I think it's still in Mum's bookcase. I don't know that she ever got rid of it. But, yeah, that was the next book.
The next book, yeah, Amy and the Ghost. I won't admit to all of the books that I still have. I've kept some treasures. They're a little bit overread, but we'll move on from there. Okay, let's talk about the 2 books that I have of yours in front of me, and maybe we start with My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby Ever. So, if you don't mind, I'll just read the blurb and tell people a little bit about it. So, listeners, it has the most beautiful cover. So have a look. If you are watching, you'll be able to see the cover because I'll pop it up on the video. But it has a lovely photo of a classic cubby. And the words are, the blurb is, My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby Ever is a timely and compassionate story about a child and father navigating the dad's mental health struggles, and was inspired by the author's own lived experience. Dr Monika Schott, who had to explain to her young children the strange and sometimes scary behaviour they were witnessing in their family members with poor mental health, set about writing the heartwarming chapter book as a way for young children to explore mental illness and mental health and alleviate the fear and stigma that often comes with it. Told through the eyes of a child, the book My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby Ever tells the touching story of a child and father setting out to build a cubby house under streaming sunshine until clouds snake in on a hazing horizon. Skies swell, a clouding storm brews, and finally breaks and swirls into pouring rains and eventually subsides. All the while, the cubby grows wackier and the rustiest of riches that rattle and rule. This is all a metaphor for the father's mental ill health that gently aligns with the building of the cubby and changing emotions and weather. For parents and carers, the book will provide guidance on how to talk to children about mental illness, a subject which is often difficult for even adults to understand. For children, not only is it a tender story about a father and child and their cubby house, but it offers a simple way for kids to learn about mental illness in a way that they will understand. It is a gentle interpretation of what Monika observed within her own family and is ideal for children aged 5 to 12 years. The chapter book is also accompanied by resources for teachers, carers, and families to draw upon, and is available in full colour or black and white as a paperback or ebook. Fairly significant chunk of work there and a really important topic. And I will say that I've had a little read of My Dad Built the Best and Wackiest Cubby, and it is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm surprised by the response, to be honest. You know, from 3-year-olds up to elderly, well, I wouldn't even say elderly, grandmothers reading their story to their grandchildren. So it's been an interesting and humbling response.
What was the inspiration for you to write the story? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It was probably 13 or maybe 14 years ago, and I had to explain to two of my young sons some of the strange behaviour they were seeing in my brother, and their father was suffering depression. And I, you know, as a parent, I was always looking for books around different topics to talk about different things. And so I went looking for a book, and I couldn't find one that was really honest. You know, it seemed there were stories there, but they just kind of danced around the topic. And anyway, I managed to explain what was going on with my children, but it just prompted me then as a writer then to want to write something. And so I started writing it, and really it had been written it took me a couple of years to write. And I would put it past publishers back then, and they were really reluctant to publish it. They said it was a great story and, you know, great idea, great initiative, but they just didn't think the market was ready for such a story, which was, you know, frustrating and sad at the same time. But anyway, things have moved on, and now we're more ready to talk about it.
Yeah, it's such an important thing. I love that there are books now that will really talk about all sorts of situations, all sorts of people, all sorts of relationships, and everything that's going on. And the more that we can talk about mental health and the fact that, you know, illness is part of us finding our way to mental health and well-being, I think the better off we are.
I agree, yeah. We've become much more open as a society to these kinds of things, and there are so many more interesting books and honest books out there now.
Yeah. Monika, in the back of the book, you've got some prompt pages or some journaling pages where you've got, you know, what 3 things make me happy, and you've got some of the sparkly cloud rainbow days and all of the, you know, how do I know when my worries go away? Have you found that these resources have been used? Have you had some feedback about those kind of things?
I have. There are some schools that have been in touch because we created a teacher's resource as well, so the book can be used in classes.
Yep.
And so I've had some really interesting feedback from a couple of schools, you know, and they're surprised at the level of understanding that kids are expressing with the book and the work in class, which is really, really heartening to hear.
Yeah.
And those journaling pages at the back, you know, kids are using those, well, teachers are helping kids to use those to explore some of those feelings, and then write about those. So yeah, it's been a very positive response. And, you know, 2 schools in particular, one a Catholic school and one a state school or a public school, using it in very different ways. You know, the Catholic school has been using it from for their grade 1s right through to grade 6s, and then the public school has been using it quite intensively with their grade 5s and 6s. So yeah, using it very differently, but using it well.
It's interesting, once we put our books out in the world, they're no longer ours, are they?
No.
The readers take them and go, oh, I know what to do with this, or I know what this means to me, or I know what she meant here, whether that's what you meant or not.
Yeah. And some of the work that I've seen, you know, in one of the schools, it was mind-blowing that, you know, kids could understand that level of detail, which was, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we underestimate children all the time, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's have a look. And of course, this is a particularly Australian story because, we've got Cubby House and all of the things. The language is, beautifully Australian. And illustrated by Kimber Burrows. So you didn't want to have a hand at illustrating yourself?
No, no. My hand's a bit unpracticed, if that's the word.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and I went to Kimber because she draws and illustrates so with such a sensitive hand. So I wanted somebody
Beautiful
to do that.
Yeah, really lovely.
Yeah,
and I wish.
Sorry.
Go on.
And then to do the clouds, a cloud for each chapter to represent, what this chapter might be about. So rather than a title, we use the clouds as the title for the chapters. So, there'd be some, clouds are snaking in, or, Dad's going to be starting to suffer a little bit here. And so that was really lovely. That's a lovely story in itself, just watching the clouds through the story.
Yeah, it's even though we're talking about mental health, and it's a very gentle tool, I guess, for parents or, adults to talk to children about. And just looking at all the rusty relics in the Cubby House. I wish the Cubby House had been good. Ours was not nearly that exciting because my children are way older now, and I've had to, we've had to take that down because it was a bit unsafe. But my dad built me the best and wackiest cubby ever. Beautiful. All right. But you've got another book which is kind of completely different, but also Australian. Let me read the blurb. Oh, so I should say to our listeners, this is The Faraway Land of the House and Two Cows that Monika wrote as part of her PhD. Sewerage ghost towns, they exist. Just ask Sorrowing Father, Dear Daughter, and Blackened Boy, and Yankee Doodle Dandy that smiles with the eyes and his shadowy mate. They and other colourful characters tell a unique and untold story of the community once living alongside sewage lagoons and paddocks watered 24 hours a day with Melbourne sewage. A story like no other that combines fact, memory and legendary tale, told by the ghosts of the past through a timeless reality. A must-read literary non-fiction about the families that built and maintained the Metropolitan Sewage Farm from early workers and their families camping on the foreshore in the 1890s, living and working through the Great Depression, both World Wars and boom times of the 1950s, to ultimately abandon homes in the 1980s to leave a sewage ghost town. There you are. And lots of beautiful reviews there about a captivating and beautifully written book. So tell us about why that connection for you to marginalised communities or industrial communities and sewage ghost towns. Now, there's, three words you don't hear very often.
No, you don't. I think, first of all, my interest in communities stems back to when I was practicing as an artist, because I could see voices that weren't heard and the power of getting those voices out. So I've always worked in communities and always worked with advocating for them, developing opportunities so that they could be feeling more empowered. And really supporting them. And I think I've become an advocate probably for communities. And, if there is an injustice, just, look out, my claws may just come out. And so I've also worked in the environment and working in sewerage education for some time. And so I've always had an interest in sewerage. I know it's a strange interest, but I've always loved it because treating it was such a natural process in Melbourne. And so I've just been fascinated with it and the science. And, when I started working in sewerage in the 1990s, it was waste and, recycling and reuse. And now we talk about it as liquid gold because there are so many uses for it. So, I just find it fascinating. And then through that work, I found out about, this town that used to live on the Metropolitan Sewage Farm in Werribee. And I knew that story hadn't been written. So, someone had to write it. And I thought, well, I might as well do it myself.
Yeah.
So, that led on to researching sewerage towns, both in Australia and around the world, and some field study in the UK, looking at other sewerage towns, which were never as comparable to the Melbourne town. And that was really because the Metropolitan Sewerage Farm is just so big, it's 10,000 plus hectares, which is about the size of Phillip Island or the island of Mykonos. So, when you have that much land, you have workers who need to be spread across the land, and they need to live out there. So it just fascinated me, and yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah, and before you know it, the faraway land of the house and 2 cows. I need to know about the 2 cows.
Oh, yes. So, and so anyway, the community, the sewage farm began in the 1890s. And back then, obviously, there were no cars, and, it was all getting around by bicycle or on foot. And if you were lucky enough, you'd have a horse and jinker. And so when the sewage farm began, the workers had to live on site, and ultimately their families came with them. So the Board of Works, they built homes, and they would concentrate these homes in the areas of the sewage farm where most of the works were happening. So, the sewage farm ended up having 4 kind of main areas where which spread across the farm. And then within these main areas, communities were growing, and so the houses were being built, and families would move in, and there were so many families that they had to build schools for the kids, and then there was a post office and a general store and a church and a swimming pool. Sports, they had their own football team and cricket team and tennis team. So it really was a community growing on site. And with that, so the faraway land being such a faraway place at the time it was built from Melbourne, of the house, the workers that lived there had to be given a house. The workers that worked there, had to be given a house to live in for their families. And then the 2 cows with the house. And so the house was built, and then it was rented to the workers and their families. With that lease came 2 cows for milking.
Right.
Yes. And so each family would have 2 cows that they would milk, and they would produce their own butter and cream and cheese. And, these cows, they would live on the most lush paddocks being watered with sewage. And so these cows were pretty healthy.
Yeah.
And the milk was quite rich. And so these families would make their milk products, and then they would sell them into the supermarkets in Werribee because they were so rich and abundant. So it was kind of like a little cottage industry on the side.
Fantastic. So why did it fail? Why did it become a ghost town?
Because then in the 1950s, the car came into being, and then we had telephones, and suddenly Werribee and Melbourne wasn't so far away anymore. And so people began moving off-site to live in Werribee and Little River and Lara. And that meant that they were closer to amenity and services. And then by, I think it was the mid-1970s, that was when the last homes, the last families moved out. And when I say the last homes, this was in the last town, which was in the centre of the sewage farm. After that, there were probably a dozen or so homes on the outskirts of the sewage farm, and families stayed in those homes until the 1980s. But, that core, sewage town community, that left in the mid-1970s.
Is there still a sense of community around there? Have you sort of taken the research into sort of what happened to all of those bodies?
Yeah, so those people, they moved off-site into Werribee, like I said, Little River or Lara. the football club and the cricket, I think the cricket stopped in the early 1960s or late 1950s. The football club folded in the mid 1960s. And those kinds of things, that's where, people come together for that real, social cohesion. So that was already going. But then once that core community left in the mid 70s, that was really the end of it then, and houses were being pushed over and buried in deep holes. A couple of them were relocated off-site into other towns. But it's interesting, because that physical sense of community had gone. But when I was doing the research, people were still really quite connected. There's, one guy said to me, whenever he meets anybody that used to live, and they called it the farm, the endearing term was the farm. Whenever he found anyone who had lived on the farm, he said there was just an instant connection, And it's true, even now, if I meet someone who was from the farm, the conversation is very different. There's a bit of a knowing, an understanding that no one else really gets.
Yeah, that shared lived experience and language, isn't it? Yeah,
it is, definitely.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
But especially when you think about some of the stories from the kids, like some of the kids, they used to grab some corrugated iron and go surfing on the sewage canal. I mean, how can you not find some kind of kinship when you've done that?
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And look, I remember we were from the northern suburbs, but I always remember they used to talk about the farm down at Werribee. Yeah. And my youngest brother was that's terrible. He's the youngest of a long time, big family. He was the last apprentice for the Border Works as he was a ironmonger, what do they call them? Horseshoes. Isn't that terrible? I've lost my word. Blacksmith, thank you. That's the word. And so there's a little bit of history down there. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, there was always held your nose when you went past Werribee if we're ever going down to Geelong. That was very important that you did that. The same way people, take a breath in before they pass cemeteries. But that's what you do as children. All right. So the best response you've ever had to your writing, and we're going to switch back because I think you've got a beautiful thing you're going to share with me. And I know you've got some lovely reviews about the faraway land of the house and two cows. But tell me about the best response you ever had to your writing for My Dad's Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby. I love this one.
Well, there were a couple.
Okay. Tell me all.
Couple. One was from Professor Pat McGorry, and Pat, he launched the book. He's a world-renowned psychiatrist in mental health, so highly regarded. And at the launch, he said that as a parent, he wished he'd had this book many years ago, and that just blew me away. And I don't think it's any secret that Pat has a son who has also suffered with mental ill health. And so when he said that, that he wished he'd had that book as a parent, I thought, oh my God, this is incredible.
Your heart would have been pounding out of your chest, I imagine.
Yeah, I was speechless. I really didn't know what to say. And then the other one, again, was really quite surprising, but the book now is being acclaimed as the kids' book that every adult should read. And I get so many adults come to me now who say they bought the book for themselves to give themselves understanding, and some adults read it over and over again because it helps them feel more grounded and feel like someone understands. So that was very unexpected, that one as well.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And it sometimes feels like you just put your bit of a heart and soul on the page, and before you know it, you realise that it actually means something to other people. Yeah. That is just amazing. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful. All right, Monika, let's slide into the process of writing, because a lot of our listeners are in fact writers themselves. So tell us, and given that you've had so much research and sort of such an academic background, tell us a little bit about your writing process. How do you get stuff done?
I start early.
Start early. Love that. I'm definitely a morning writer as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I start early. I'll generally sit down with a pot of tea and then just start writing. And when I say early, depending on what I'm doing, I might be at my desk at 3:30 in the morning writing because, I've woken up and I know that I need to get something down, so I'll just get up and do it. And then really, if it's 7 o'clock when I start writing, I generally just write for the morning till lunchtime, and then I can feel my brain starting to wane. And then I'll switch to doing things where, like, I don't know, plot planning or addressing emails or, sorting through images or something. But my best time of writing is in the morning. And I find too that, like I think I'm not unusual when I say that a lot of writers can procrastinate.
We're very good at it.
But when that happens to me, I'll put on a candle. I'll light a candle or I'll put on some incense. And that just helps me to ground. And for some, I don't really know why, but it works every time, touch wood. But I then get into the process, or into the flow of writing. And then, like I said earlier, I can just get lost in it if it's flowing.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, but that process of flow is a fairly special time, isn't it? If we can get that, so much gets done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, Monika, children's book, supporting mental health, literary non-fiction about ghost sewage towns. What's next on your writing horizon?
Two pieces.
Yeah.
I'm writing a novel at the moment, a literary novel for adults, and that one's really just about life, and it touches on mental ill health and the importance of love and support. So it's really just about life. The other one is a very Australian story about koalas, and that one's for it's a chapter book, but it's for older readers. And it's about kids who are camping who find dead koalas. And what it's all about, and the stories kids make up through fear of not knowing, well, adults too, and a very scary Nana Vin who's out to get them. Anyway, I won't say anything more.
Don't know spoilers.
That'll be out at the end of the year, that one, and I'm still finishing off the novel, which will go to a publisher probably September.
Fantastic. We'll look forward to it.
Yes.
When you're doing your PhD, I know, many people have done it. There is so much content, so much rich research. And while you've got a book here, have you planned to do anything else with all of that work that you've done?
I have. There is a next installment, and I have started it.
Yes.
But I have to, sometimes you've got to put something down when there's something else more pressing that you've got to get out.
Yeah.
But I do have another one, a sequel to The Faraway Land of the House and Two Cows. At the moment, it's called The Jewel Falls from the Crown. So it looks at the 1990s of the Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Work. So it was an interesting time.
Yes.
So I have lots of research.
We'll have to get you onto Telstra then and the State Electricity Commission. I know sewage is your thing, but it sounds like you're ready to have a go at some of those bureaucracies.
Absolutely, yes. I haven't even mentioned this other research that we started 2 years ago. I don't know whether you've ever heard of it, called the State Research Farm. And the State Research Farm was an agricultural research facility that was established in Victoria in the early 1900s to explore agricultural practices that were more suited to the Australian climate, because until that point, farmers were using practices coming from the UK and Europe. So again, that's another industrial community, the industry being around agricultural research, but the community grow on site to support the work.
Right, okay. So look out for that with another beautiful long title. I love the way that you put all the words in the title.
No, I have promised people that I will have a shorter title next.
Okay. Oh, we won't hold you to that. That's all right, because I love that because it's memorable. The Faraway Land of the House of Two Cows, and my dad built me the best and wackiest cubby ever. So no, that's beautiful. All right, let's have a look at final words for readers. What would you say? Who are the readers that really, you've already talked a little bit about who the books have benefited so far. What readers do you think should pick up those two books that we've talked about?
The Faraway Land of the House and Two Cows. I think it's an entertaining read. I mean, yeah, it's a social history, but it's told by ghosts, and there are some very happy moments, very sad moments, but also some very funny moments. So I would recommend anyone looking for an entertaining read. And, you can't get anything more unique than a community living on a sewage farm.
And I love that it's with the story told by ghosts. Yes, you can almost pop it in the supernatural aisle and see if you could get, some different readers. Yeah. All right, what about My Dad's Built Me the Wackiest Cubby?
I think that one, I'd like it to be more used in schools because it's such an important story for kids to understand. Yeah. And I am looking to expand the story to be on screen again to help kids understand the story. Mm-hmm. I just think, and I have done things to try and get it into schools. But, schools are just so chockers with so much to teach. So it's difficult, and I understand that. But, I'd like that book used and read in schools, even if it was in school libraries for kids to just take home. It can be as simple as that. Yeah, absolutely. And libraries, I am a great supporter of libraries. Bring them on more and more. Tell me, Monika, where can people find you online and where can they find your books? Where's the best place? I think the easiest thing to do is to go to my website, which is monikashott.com. Yep. Monika spelled with a K.
Yep. And Schott, SCHOTT.
Yes, thank you. And then because I just put updates there on where the books are, and at the moment all of them can be purchased from my website. There's also an audio book for The Faraway Land of the House and Two Cows, and that was important to do for older people who are connected to the sewage farm who, may not be able to read so easily anymore. So we made that into an audio book, which the song is on that book as well.
Ah, very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
But anyway, everything's on my website.
Okay, lovely. And you can also find Monika on Facebook and a few other places as well. Let me just scroll on back, everybody, while I get all of those. Facebook, Instagram as well. Is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners, Monika?
Oh, no, I think that's really comprehensive.
We've talked a lot. We've covered most things, I think. Yeah.
I think so.
Yep. And we are going to give away The Faraway Land of the House of Two Cows and a copy of My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby Ever to our listeners, our subscribers. So listeners, if you're not subscribed, you better jump on the website and give us your name and email and you can go into the draw.
Excellent.
It's beautiful. So thank you, Monika, for donating those. I really appreciate that. That's it. Thank you for your time and best of luck with your new books. And I hope to see the sequel and more books and The Jewel from the Kitchen Window. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, The Jewel through the kitchen window.
The Jewel through the kitchen window. All right. Monika Schott, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Veronica, for having me.
Thank you, Monika, for such an excellent chat about My Dad Built Me the Best and Wackiest Cubby and The Faraway Land of the House and 2 cows.
Which
And
is so fascinating.
it is absolutely fascinating. And, you know, the fact that she particularly is giving a voice to those struggling communities from, you know, the marginalised groups, I think it's just fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And topics that you would not even occur to you in the slightest of thoughts would be about ghostly sewerage farms.
Yes. Yeah, and it's not unique.
So
they're all over the world, apparently.
Yeah.
From what Monica's saying.
Utterly fabulous with fascinating with actually living out in the middle of nowhere and out on site to look after things. It's just incredible. So really interesting stories, but also art and getting voices and stories through art that you might not be able to get down in words and things like that. That was fascinating to listen to. Yeah.
And I love the way she was transitioning her art into words and still having the texture and all of that kind of thing. That was just
exactly
was brilliant.
And right down to the with my dad built the best and wackiest cubby ever, which I absolutely adore. But that when she was shipping it around originally, that people weren't ready for it, so to speak, and that now things are just so we're just more open to talking about feelings and talking about how our parents are doing. And what I love about it is it is the child dealing with dad's mental health issues. So because so many kids out there are dealing with parents who have issues, and it's very hard to understand what's going on. So it's a fantastic book, and I love the idea of weather and clouds and colors representing those moods and what they mean. It's like you can imagine a lot of kids getting into that.
And lets the children watch the progression of that and then the change, which is good. Because I was looking up some of the stats of mental health. The Australian Bureau of Statistics says that 42.9% of people aged 16 to 85 years had experienced a mental disorder at some time in their life. 21.5% of people had a 12-month mental disorder. So there are a lot of people out there, you know.
Including parents.
The National Institute of Health reports that 57.8 million adults live with some form of mental illness. So that's a lot.
Yeah. And you don't understand what's going on when you're little.
No.
So
that's exactly right. Sorry, that was the US National Institute, whereas the first one was the Australian Bureau of Statistics. So there you go. But a lot of people. And look, it is becoming more okay to talk about mental health.
But it's interesting in Australia because you've got such a strong culture that was built for so long in not talking about feelings, particularly with the blokes and the construction industry and all that sort of thing, and the
sport.
dads and sport, where you just didn't talk about what you were going through, and that's really opening up now, and people are really being able to have those conversations and let people know that they're not doing okay if they're not doing okay. So these books are very, very important.
Very important. So thank you, Monika, for that excellent chat.
Yes, absolutely.
And you will find Monika's book both on the children's and the non-fiction area of the far right hand, and we'll look forward to her next book coming out.
Yes.
In the meantime, ready for a quote?
Wow, I do. I am, yes. And funnily enough, I've gone with a Gustav Flaubert quote. Yes, so I am irritated by my own writing. I am like a violinist whose ear is true, but whose fingers refuse to reproduce precisely the sound he hears within.
Wow.
And that, I think that's so fitting for writers everywhere. And you have this great vision. I love the looks like and what it actually is memes that are online, because that's my writing in a nutshell. It's like I have this view and it's amazing, and this is what I produce.
So, you know, I'm thinking about AI technology. It'd be lovely if you could just drop it from your brain straight onto the page, but from your idea.
Absolutely. So who doesn't envision a orchestral delight when they're first coming up with their concept for their books, and then
like
you know what, first draft is a first draft. I'm going to stick with that. It gets better.
Good. It does get better.
A lot of work.
All right, excellent quote. Let me give you one from Maya Angelou, and I was thinking about Monika Schott. You can only become truly accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things you love doing and then do them so well that people can't take their eyes off you.
Oh, I love that.
How's that? Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And I think, you could hear in Monica's voice, if you're not watching on video, you can certainly hear in the passion in her voice and how much, she cares for those communities and what a great advocate she was. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Fantastic. Can't believe we've got to the end of another one.
I know. It feels like we did, like a bit short, but we did chat a lot beforehand and then we weren't sure whether we were going to be able to record. So we tooted and froed. There were cats interrupting and all sorts of things.
Always the way.
Don't forget, people, if you wanted to support Australian book lovers, that please jump onto our subscribers page, which is there's a little heart under our podcast, and you can click on the heart and offer us a few dollars a month to keep us on the air, which is fabulous. And
we've got links on the website to the events, our free events that are coming up. So you can jump on there. And also the website is getting some updates, and we've even got some cool little images of our little podcasting selves, which is really cute. I love it.
Yes, courtesy of my daughter, who we will freely admit her tween years were the dark times, we call them. But now that she's in her 30s, we are really good friends. So
that's good.
Hang in there, parents.
An amazing artist. She is
an amazing artist amongst all the other things that she does. Yes. I'm very lucky to have all these artists in my family because I can't draw to save myself. Well, I probably could to save myself, but it wouldn't be very good.
Writer. Yeah.
Writer is better.
And of course, you can follow us on X, Twitter, Australian Books, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, and of course on the YouTube channel where you can see us chatting away.
Yes, in all our Saturday morning glory.
Indeed. Our half asleep, coffee deprived, freezing cold weather.
Yes, indeed you can. But it does make for a little bit more entertainment as you can watch Laurie's cats step across the thing. Mine are locked out today.
Every time.
They're obviously very comfortable.
They want to be stars. That's all I can stick with. Yep.
Excellent. So stay tuned. We have got a couple of fabulous writers' rooms coming up. We've got a couple of shortlisters from the Karagia Awards. You may remember last year we did the Wilderness Society's Karagia Awards, and the shortlisters, we've got a couple of them. We managed to snap on a couple of them, which is great to have a chat with in the next couple of weeks. And we've got another writers' room with 3 of our returning writers that we're hoping to cram them all.
I've definitely got one. Hayley's in. We've got Hayley, so we're just waiting on a couple more replies, and we can lock that in and have some good fun chatting about the terrible book twos, and book threes,
which can be really difficult, as we both know. Yes. Yeah. And my apologies to people who have been waiting for my book 2 for like 2 years. I'm really sorry. I just, I get there.
It's tough work. We're all exhausted at the moment. These last couple of years, we are all mentally shot.
Yes, and it just takes a while to kick on. But we've got Australian book lovers to keep us going, and I'm loving it. And I'm glad that you have survived 10 episodes, and I think you might be here for the long haul, which is
I think so.
Fantastic.
Yep. So sorry, peeps. I'm around for good.
And we need to remember then that our byline is, of course, to tell everybody out there to remember to read more Aussie books. All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.
Hi, I'm Naomi Shippen. Stories have always been an important part of my life, but it was not until recent years that I began to write my own. Mystery, suspense and domestic noir hold a special fascination for me, and my debut novel, Far From Harm, is out now with Kingsley Publishers. It's a psychological thriller set in the Victorian high country of Australia, and it features an aspiring writer who must uncover the truth about the women in her husband's past in time to save herself and her unborn child. You can find out more about my writing on my website, naomishippen.com, and you can follow me on social media on Twitter at Naomi Shippen, Instagram at naomi.shippen.writes, and Facebook at nshippen, TikTok at Naomi Shippen. Today I would like to review Lucky Number 11 by Jess Kitching. Everyone thinks that Hannah Allen is lucky, but what they don't realise is that her escape from a serial killer 10 years ago has come at a price. In the wake of her ordeal, Hannah has rebuilt her life, but only those close to her really know how much Hannah is haunted by the man who stole her innocence as a teenager. Set in the aftermath of Hannah's nightmarish abduction, Lucky Number 11 explores the long-lasting effect of trauma and the constant battle victims face for survival. The brutal ignorance of mainstream and social media is examined, and the role it plays in exacerbating trauma and putting victims at greater risk. I have read Jess Kitching's previous novels, and she has gone from strength to strength with each one. As usual, Jess delivers a nail-biting, suspenseful story, but she offers so much more than that. Jess holds a mirror up to the way people treat each other in our society, and the reflection isn't pretty. Victim blaming, bullying, and misogyny are themes she explores in her work, and the insidious ways they have become an accepted part of our society. Lucky Number 11 is a thrilling novel that kept me guessing right to the end. An examination of crime as entertainment and the stories we choose to listen to, and those that go unheard.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families.
Let's meet again, where magic happens.